Welcome to the Realty Plus Real Talk series, where we talk to industry experts to know their honest views and opinions. And today we have with us Ms. Tanya Khanna, founder of Epistle, the first and largest communications consultancy for architects and designers in South Asia. So Tanya, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sapna. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so in fact, Tanya, you yourself have been a practicing architect. You have been associated with various Indian and international architectural firms. So over the years, in your experience, how have you seen the architectural practice or the field of architecture changing?
So as globalization has sort of impacted the rest of the world, I think in India as well, architecture has moved from being in this little isolated bubble. It has now actually moved out of that bubble. And it is not, while it was always playing a very critical role in shaping our lives as inhabitants of cities, today architecture has, the common man understands the importance of what architecture plays in our lives. The common man sees architecture and the built environment as something that they are engaging with on a daily basis. Design, interior design, architecture, all of them are not just domains outside of their regular lives, but it's an integral part of what they're doing every day. It shapes their lives every day.
So you're very right. Maybe if we would go back 20 years, 30 years back, a tendency was let's hire a contractor and he'll build a house for us. But now we have more people, let's go to an architect, to get the house designed or office designed. Interior designers are now being engaged. But how,
and post-pandemic, that has really changed, because what has happened is, post-COVID, people have spent their time mostly inside spaces, homes, offices, whatever it is. It's always inside spaces. So the design of that spaces is, that is critical to mental well-being, physical well-being, and emotional well-being. So whether it is a school that your kid is going to today, the office that you are back to today, or the home that you were always in, even in lockdown, people have realized that design is very critical. So most people now understand the role that we as professionals, as architects, as urban designers, as interior designers are playing in everybody's life.
You're right. So from the end users, yes, the awareness has completely, now changed. The importance of a designer is being recognized. But from the architectural practitioners' point of view, what has changed in their attitudes?
I think because of this whole digital boom and this whole boom of globalization, everybody is now connected, right? There is so much sort of content out there, right? Everybody is, the first thing is you look at Google for something, right? So there is this plethora of content that is available. For architects as well, it has become really, I think post-COVID, we realized that most practitioners also wanted to understand how their practice is shaping up. COVID and especially the pandemic, it gave everybody the time to introspect. What is your contribution? What are you doing on a daily basis? Are you changing? Are you shaping lives? Are you changing? Are you really making an impact in the built environment? How is your work informing your larger passion in life? Most of us architects, we've picked up this profession because this is something that we really wanted to do. Now, how are we, is that practice helping us, do that every day? So I think most practitioners have, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So most practitioners have taken the time now to work on their content. Okay. And the minute you step back and look at your own content, it automatically informs your work on a daily basis. Right? It helps you step up your own game. It helps you look back at your portfolio and see how can you make your current design or your current body of work more suited to today's challenges, whether it is climate change, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is cities, whether it is people, population, war, all of that, all those things are informing the way we design today as practitioners. Even technology, it has changed the way. I mean, the whole chat about the future of the home for the future. These are keywords that have informed how designers and architects are thinking today. So practice is completely different now.
Right. So retrospection, technology, and the communication among all the stakeholders are some of the areas where we are seeing a lot of changes happening in terms of the architectural field or the practice that is happening now. Also, in terms of architectural practice, still now was more of word of mouth referrals kind of a field, being a professional. But over the years, we have seen some of the architects have been promoting themselves through various channels. Do you think architectural practice or architectural firms need to market themselves? If they do, then how should they go about it?
So there are 2 or 3 aspects to this. The first, like I was saying, the pandemic has changed everything, right? What was earlier being taken for granted, right? The fact that work is flowing in made everybody across industries realize that work will not always just flow in, right? One has to be prepared, and one also wants to do the sort of work that you want to do. Even if you are getting work, a lot of practitioners, I've heard this from pretty much practitioners across the country, that but this is the sort of work that we want to do. How do we attract that sort of work? Which leads one then to marketing, right? Secondly, technology. Everybody is finding in a world where physical access was very restricted. The whole COVID pandemic changed everything. You could not step out. If you're not meeting people, how will you get work? So technology plays a very critical role. And even practices that belonged to the old school of thought, where you want your work to be coming in through referrals and word of mouth, and there is enough that comes in. I think most people realize that they need to have digital, but digital presence is critical today. So that's another thing, then obviously that informs marketing. Lastly, the one thing that keeps coming back to us from a marketing perspective is content. Most architects or designers, they understand that, okay, there is some level of marketing that needs to happen. But how do we do it? We are not trained. Our architectural education is not training us to do this. Our laws for us architects as professionals it's a very broad framework. Architectural practice, the whole module, the 5th year module, it does not train you to do anything. We are trained to shy away from words like branding, marketing, sales, etc. Of course, there are studios that have done a fabulous job of it, and there's a lot to learn. But that learning can only happen through practice and experience. So, I mean, it is a need of the hour. I think more than me. I mean, when 10 years back, when I started Epistle, it was still something that, architects were like, okay, tell us, convince us that this makes a difference. Today, that has changed. Okay. Today, most architects and designers, they know that, okay, if anything, so we need to have presence on social media. The need is not that, okay, this is going to bring us work. It is also visibility for the brand. It makes you introspect. It makes you identify for yourself that, what, this is the work that I want to do. This is what I'm good at doing. This is what I want this practice to stand for. Whether you're a collective or a single individual, right? Your practice needs to go somewhere. It is always a step forward. So this whole conversation on branding and marketing helps you take that step forward.
That's right. And as most, everyone is, the younger generation, the millennials and, the Gen Z now coming in, everyone is so tech savvy, everyone is on social media. So it makes it even more necessary to have your presence there to, connect with these people there. So, you spoke about when you started 10 years back, people first question was why? Why should we do it? That has changed. So what have been the other challenges that you faced, in terms of content? You said that the content was not there. So what have been the challenges in your journey?
one, like I said, the biggest challenge was obviously what is the tangible deliverable? What do we achieve at the end of this exercise? I think the one thing that everybody needs to sort of come to terms with, that there's no end goal. You will get tangible. It's a process that is ongoing. It's like spirituality, right? You don't just pray for something and you get it and then you forget about it, right? Spirituality helps you align. It's a way of life. Branding, marketing terms are not, I think they are in the corporate world, they're obviously abused and misused, but they actually help one introspect and, like I said, figure out a framework within which you operate as a practice. It's like an HR or a finance or any other field. It's a basic need today. Digital presence is a basic need today. The other challenge that we face is obviously the curation of content, right? In the regular rut of building, which is what an architectural practice does, nobody has the time to step back and curate content, write it in a way that is legible to the outside world, to the common man, document drawings in a way that somebody else understands, select a set of images that is actually communicating. The act of communication is critical. Most people think of either sales or marketing. And I've worked with enough studios across the country now to be able to say that they think of it as PR, marketing, branding. What the term that one needs to start thinking of is communication. Communication is key. If you are communicating your content in the best manner possible, using the best tools possible, you are bound to be recognized for the work that you are good at doing, and you will attract the right sort of work. And PR, social media, digital media, website, profiles, collaterals, everything that falls under this domain, it's all actually communication. So communication as an exercise is the biggest challenge for design studios. And once you start investing sort of any energy into it, and a lot of firms are already doing it, they just don't have a process for it. They'll have somebody in the team who's writing. They'll have somebody in the team who's making an award entry. And, or they put somebody's working on a website. So all these things are happening. And as time has gone, they're happening more and more. But one needs to just step back and look at the bigger picture. Like I said, the introspection needs to happen simultaneously.
Right. So things are happening, but in a haphazard manner. There is no strategy to it. So what the architectural firms or the design firms need is a strategy and the right communication, how you rightly communicate what you want to say. So that is what is missing. And that is where the role of an agency like yours comes in, who prepares the entire strategy of communication, the various tools to be used when and where and how. And to advise them on that.
And it's not even like, I wouldn't like, of course, when we started, we were the only agency, that was doing this. Today, there are many others. There are consultants who getting an expert on board, getting a sounding board, more than the expert, right? More than thinking of them as an outside agency or a consultancy. Like we always tell our clients that we are not an agency. We are your in-house team. Treat us like your in-house team because we are your sounding board. We will ask you the questions that will inform what we do. We are here to ask you questions. We are here to think twice. Is this the right thing to do? Is this talking to my audience? My audience, my client is going to be different from your client. We are just going to enable that process. And sorry, one last challenge. I think another challenge that I forgot to mention earlier is this need of skill set is missing in the education, in the architectural education today. A challenge that we face, today, I can tell you, if I know 50 firms in the country, pretty much all of them want some architect to be able to sit and write for them, to look at visual communication for them. But architects are not trained to do it. Today, if there are 500 architecture schools in the country, when they only treat architectural writing or visual communication as simple electives that you do once in 5 years. You're not trained to write as much as or think as much as you draw. So that focus needs to shift because the industry today is ready for this boom of communication. but our education system has not trained people. There is a gap in the demand and supply now. The demand earlier, when I remember when I started, there was no demand. So there was more of what we could deliver, and there was very little demand. People had to be convinced, and sort of, people wanted to do it, but globally it's a renowned phenomena. Globally everybody's trained for it. But in India, there was that gap. Today, there is a demand for it. Everybody wants somebody who can manage their Instagram, their LinkedIn, their website. But there is no supply of people. So today, young architects need to be trained. And I think as an industry, we should recognize that. And it's not just for architects, it's construction professionals, it's developers, it's builders. Everybody needs that. We are today not working with only architects and designers. We are working with enough product people in the construction domain, because they need the same thing. Somebody still needs to write about your product. Today, every product has a website, so that even if the customer cannot visit the experience center, they can digitally visit your store. Your products are still there on a catalog. You still need to write and explain your product, whether it is a home automation product, or it is a stone, or it is lighting, any product that is being used in the construction industry. And we are doing work with them. We are also doing work with developers and builders, because their assets also need to be put out in the market from a sales and marketing perspective. The content is all design related. So our designers today need to be taught how to write and communicate design.
Right. So I guess now that you said that the demand is there, so I'm sure we'll start having schools teaching visual communication and architectural writing also. So I hope that would.
In COVID, I actually started teaching a course in architectural writing. It was a one-off thing. I thought we'll do it for a month, but we get repeat requests. We get people. We've done it with more than, I think, 350 students from 15 countries. So there is a demand all over the world because everybody feels, even as a professional, as a practicing professional, I have had reputed, architects who have great practices, but they come and say that, but we want to learn how to write about architecture.
Right.
So there is a lot of room, to do this. And there is, like I said, there's no end to it. It's an ongoing process. We are all learning every day.
Yeah, it is an ever evolving process. The industries keep maturing, keep evolving, new trends keep emerging. And this is one of the trend of visual communication, architectural writing that Tanya is saying is now much in demand. If you have to give a percentage, in Indian scenario, what percentage of architectural firms have grasped the importance of marketing?
That's a tough one. I think my goal is not, when I set out to do this, I think the goal was not to get everybody to understand the importance of marketing. I think the idea was to bridge the gap between the professionals and the end user. Architects, designers are typically used to talking in a language that nobody understands, right? If we talk to our end user is the one whose life is being shaped by the work that we create. If we talk in a language that is comprehensible, right, we have achieved something, because then there is no gap. If we want to be recognized as, architects keep complaining about, this is not right in our built environment, the cities are not okay, this is not okay, that's not okay, we are not paid well, all of that. If we start respecting our work and we put out our work in the best possible manner, the end user will also respect our work. So our goal was only that, democratizing architecture, making it accessible to everybody, making it comprehensible. And I think I would say 100% of the built environment professionals in our country recognize the need for that. I haven't met anybody who thinks that, oh no, this is not cool. I used to hear that at one point, but everybody understands the importance of good content also. Even if you're making a presentation to a client, you are still communicating your design and design intent to them.
Right.
It's important. It's not, so there is no, I don't think there is a need for a percentage. Everybody understands marketing is a call that one can take. So what may work for me as marketing may not work for somebody else's marketing. For a small studio that is doing interior design work, Instagram may be the best tool for marketing. Whereas for a large firm that is doing infrastructure work, maybe just newspapers or LinkedIn would be a better tool for marketing. It's different tools for different people. And that's what I think professionals also need to understand, that just because it's a trend today doesn't mean that it is going to help me. We don't need to, it's like fashion. We don't need to always follow trends.
That's right.
What is your style quotient? That's what you pick.
And as you rightly said, it's not marketing, it's about communication, so how you communicate, where you communicate, what tools you communicate, it has to be as per your own individuality, as per your own practice. You also spoke about democratization of architecture. Again, this is one area where, we as a media also feel a big gap. All these conversations happen in a B2B environment, or, within the industry bodies. How do we open up these conversations with the common man when we are talking about cities? How do we bring these two, B2C and B2B, all together? Even we have seen there are plumbing organizations doing their own conferences, talking about that. So everyone is working in their own silos. So how do we kind of open up these conversations with the common person? Because at the end of the day, we are doing it for them.
Yeah, so I think the first step is to just, like I said, identify yourself, that, why are we doing this? So like for us, we realized when we started out, I mean, today I am sitting in a room talking to you, right? 10 years back, I was sitting in my own studio doing my own work, right? Because the goal is, that's why I actually don't like the words PR or marketing, because the minute you use those words, the intent is very different. Our goal was to curate content, help architects and professionals curate content so that they can communicate their work better. For 10 years, we sat quietly behind the scenes and just did that. And then your work starts doing the talking, right? And then it starts hitting the right people. If architects today, built environment professionals and builders and developers, if today the industry shifts its focus from just PR and marketing as tools, and talk about instead challenges that face the city, right? Whatever city, we have 100 cities. There's so many cities, right? You talk about cities, you talk about every brand, every product, every architect, every professional has their own unique story. They have their own unique goals. They have their own unique passions. They have their own unique strengths. If we just focus on that strength and we engage in a dialogue that is driven by that strength, it will reach the end user. If an architect meets a client today, they understand their requirements and they assimilate that into a design brief and create a design solution. That is what we need to work on as media professionals, as agencies, as architects together. So if we're having a panel discussion on plumbing, right, like you said, there is no reason why it should only have architects as panelists. You should have an engineer, you should have a contractor, you should have an end user also on board. If we start treating our diet, so if we start keeping these conversations as more inclusive, is what will drive the change. All events typically don't include students and they don't include the end user. By simply taking these two steps of including the young professionals and obviously the end user, we are automatically making it inclusive. Intrinsically, we are an exclusive industry. We don't include people.
Right.
And then we talk about gender, gender roles in cities. We talk about so many things, homes, but we don't include the end user and we don't include the students, because they are the ones who are out there. They are the ones who are digitally savvy. Today, I have so much more to learn from a young student about Instagram than I know myself, because the world is changing. We need to keep up.
Yeah, we need to even, I think, open up our build spaces for people to explore. Like, people go to galleries, to museums. We need to encourage common people to start exploring build spaces, probably, the works of various architecture, have some kind of tours of, master
So,
architects.
a project, not just master arcs, so a project that Epistle has been working on since day one. And maybe, a platform like yours can help us.
Right.
So I think there are certain guidelines that architects, if you go to an art gallery, there's a work of art there. There's a little sign that says, this is the artist, this is the name of the artwork, and one line sentence on what the artist wanted to do with that piece of art and the year that it was commissioned in.
Correct.
Imagine if our buildings were treated like works of art. Every building is unique. Every building has a story. Every architect is unique. They have their own story, right? Why should architecture be restricted only to the masters? If today, as professionals, we can put that little sign to each one of the buildings that we are creating, be proud of it. We know our name is going there. We will be proud of it. We will do a very good job. We will be conscious of, then sustainability is not a word anymore, right? We will be conscious of what impact we are creating in the built environment because our name is there.
That's right.
So our goal is to enable, at least in India to begin with, that every building should have that little signage and the architect's name is there and the building is there and his intent is there. Whether it's a home or a school or an office or a factory, it doesn't matter.
That's right. So
architecture has a story that needs to be told.
One is the engagement and more inclusive. We need to make architectural practice more inclusive, from common people, from various segments of the entire build space, to the younger generation of designers. We need to make it more inclusive, open up, democratize. And secondly, it is all about communication. So architectural practices, architects, designers, and architectural firms need to start communicating more. They are already doing it. At least they recognize this aspect. They just need to figure out what tools suit them the best, and how, what strategy should they follow. So what, at the end, what the future looks like. We have had a long journey from where the architects were not recognized so much, their work was not recognized so much by the common people. Now the architectural fraternity itself understands the importance of reaching out. What the future looks like now?
I think the future is a blank canvas for us. There is just so much, like I said, there's so much to be done, and every architect can literally come and explore their art out there. We just need, it's like a new beginning for us.
Okay.
Right. And with the whole option of digital technology, in our hand, there is just so much to do. Okay. We should treat our work. I think if we respect our
so much more to do. So what are the goals for Tanya Khanna for the future?
Like I said, I think if we can help every architect and every designer tell their story, I think I will be a satisfied person. Our goal is not marketing, PR, digital, social media. All that will happen. Every designer is a brand by itself. Architecture is not restricted to the master architects. If we can truly democratize it, truly make it meaningful for every single professional that is emerging from the architectural institutions and connecting them to the outside world, I think our job would be done.
Okay, so that's quite a big goal that Tanya has set for herself, democratizing the entire profession of architecture, making it reachable, accessible to all, and most importantly, bringing the architectural segment realize the entire process of how to go about it. That's what Tanya Khanna is doing, and is, her endeavor is. Any key initiative that you would like to, leave us with, that you are currently working on?
I told you that one sign for every building, starting with India, I think is what we are looking at.
Okay, fantastic. So that sounds really good. All our best wishes to you, Tanya, for what you are doing. You have brought quite a change in the way the architects have started thinking of their own practice now, and many more successes to you on the way. And we look forward to your new initiatives. So thank you so much.
I think thank you to you and to Realty Plus as a platform, because you are enabling these conversations. The more we talk about it, every little step that we take is creating impact in the built environment.
That's right. It's a combined effort from all, as you
Thank
agree.
you.
You have, the challenges, as you mentioned, there are certain challenges in terms of content, in terms of the skill sets that are missing there in the field, which we need to work upon in terms of reaching out to people. So thank you so much, Tanya, for being here with us, giving us your expert views and honest opinion on what the profession of architecture is going through. So thank you so much for being here with us and giving your time.
Lovely speaking to you, Sapna.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.